a terrible environment.
Imagino.
Terrível, terrível.
And that made me very sick. Intrigue, gossip, lies. One pulling the rug out from under the other.
Sim.
At the same time that he revealed this, Pastor Paulo Roberto Guimarães, in front of the bishop, said, "I want to go to Portugal. I do not accept staying in Brazil being led by Carlos." In my face like that.
Yeah.
But boy Paulo, what is this Paulo? Are you rebelling against God? No, I don't want to. Or else I leave the church. And he ended up going to Portugal anyway. Did not accept. And then I say this is to be assumed when? He said tomorrow, in Brazil tomorrow, leave it in Fortaleza. I was already in charge of Fortaleza, because I took over the north and northeast. He said, so you prepare your things, leave Sergio there as your substitute, who was a pastor from Rio who had gone there to help me, and you go straight to Sao Paulo.
Sorry to tell you, what was Sergio? Not Sergio Correa, right?
Sergio Von Elder.
Oh, Von Elder, yeah.
What kicked the saint?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I had taken him to Sao Paulo. We had a friendship and in the end I lived here. It was a purely terceira friendship with him.
Mm-hmm.
He was my friend because I was the leader.
Yes.
Then I went to Fortaleza. I said goodbye to the church, to everyone. I used the radio. There was a radio there and so on, and I went to Sao Paulo. And my wife was preparing changes. All these things. There, when I arrived in Sao Paulo, I stayed at church. I got scared in church. While she arranged a house, an apartment, anything of that sort, like this. And at that time, someone showed up offering the record to the church. Then they came to treat me. There were two guys. I'm going to see if I remember their names. One of them was Alberto Haddad and Jorge Haddad. They were cousins. They came as intermediaries from Recor. Then I passed it on to the guy in New York. The values, he said, no, go ahead, can negotiate. But when he said, you can negotiate, the guy didn't really like me getting into the business, you know, Alberto. But it wasn't good talking to the animal, it was just me and Jorge, because Uncle Santos is very touchy. Then I got suspicious. I thought that was strange, right? But then the bug said, no, Carlino is the leader, he has to take the lead. And so it was. Boy, these guys were Satan himself.
That's right, huh?
Yeah, they were preparing a coup to hit the church. Preparing a coup. But even so, the purchase was made from record, which was also a scam. Only now it was a scam made by Silvio Santos. Why? Because record was bought for $45 million.
Sim.
The church made a down payment of $15 million.
Sim.
Gave a down payment of $10 million. No, $15 million was taken in 30.
Mm-hmm.
To pay 20 times, 20 installments of $3 million.
Mm-hmm.
But in the contract, one of the requirements was that the church present a first-rate bank as guarantor. I mean, it couldn't be just any bank, it had to be a top-notch bank.
Mm-hmm.
A Baradios, an Itaú, a Santander, a Banco do Brasil, something like that there. And I went around behind all these banks. I talked to the director of all the banks and I couldn't. Because they all said the following, which is a norm here at the bank, not to provide bail for charities, churches, things like that, because if there is a problem and the territorial bloc is here interfering judicially, using toughness, it goes very badly for the banking institution, because the popular pressure is great.
Sim, perfeito.
So they had as a rule, even the church had a real estate guarantee that covered that. I carried a suitcase full of scriptures to show that I had a guarantee, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there was no way. And the contract, Davi prayed if at the end of 3 months he didn't show up, the deal was off. It was undone. So we went. The 3 months passed. We went to a meeting with Silvio Santos in Villa Guilherme.
Eu,
And I, Bicho Macedo and Bicho Goncalves, Honorario Goncalves. We went to the meeting. I had already had almost 2 meetings with Silvio before, but this one was to define the bail issue. Then he was always a big star. We would get there, wait an hour, 2 hours for him to show up, talk to his lawyers until they arrived. He arrived already with the contract in his hand. He didn't even sit down. He just came and asked me. He said, okay. He went down, went and stuff. Look, I'll be straight to the point. That my time is gold. It's the following. There's a contract here that you've already read, which says in the such clause, that a down payment of $15 million was given. If you don't present a bank guarantee intermediate, the contract is broken. Then he said, so today this contract is broken, but there's one thing. I want to tell you that I never took anyone's money. I never passed anyone behind. Did you see what Santos was saying? But I already spent the 15 million. And I have nothing to return. So, you will have to wait for another buyer to appear for Record, because it was impossible, because Record was bankrupt, completely scrapped.
nada.
It goes into a blow. Imagine. Then the animal was silent. It was silent, below its head. Then I whispered to it, can I talk? He said can. Then I said, hey Silvio, here's the thing, I'm not a lawyer, but I guarantee you that there is no place in the world where someone can give $15 million in advance. The deal is broken and the person loses, or who is selling to say that they spent and only pay when they can. That doesn't exist. So I want to tell you, and his lawyers used to say that he was very arrogant, that he likes to show off too much, you know? That he doesn't like to be bullied, that he replies with the things he says. I said something else. I am the leader of Brazil. I answer pedestrians in Brazil. On Monday I will put 100,000 people in front of the trunk, screaming I want my money, coup du bow. Boy, did the guy turn white. What the heck, bro, are you crazy? I said no, I'm not crazy. You have no doubt that I'm going to do it. Monday has 100,000 people in front of your trunk. There, no, calm down, people, calm down. We're not going to set out to break the bank, no, everything has a way and such, but let's do the following. That was a Friday. They're going to set up a meeting for Monday right here on Avenida Guilherme, Monday at 10 a.m. Okay, so we left here and went to Record. Colo had been elected, but hadn't taken office yet.
Sim.
E a igreja,
Yes. And the church, everyone knows, supported Fernando Colo, right?
Yes.
And I was responsible for this disgrace. Because I went to plant a church in Alagoas, and when I went to handle the radio program, the owner of the radio was his brother, Pedro Colos. And the guy became a very good friend of mine, you know? He became my friend, good people, treated me very well, opened doors. Then when it was the campaign, I took it and talked to him. We can support your brother, and he of course accepted it, right? I talked to Bicho, he's a straight guy. A new guy and Colo had an intense lip, right? Everything was wrong, and that's why the church supported Colo. Then on this Friday afternoon I say, look, Colo has already won, we supported it, and this guy is not going to do anything for us. It can't be like that. Then I say, man, do you authorize me to keep in touch with the Brazilian? He said, can do. He's very cowardly, you know.
Who?
It's cowardly to say enough is enough. What do you say? All that Marquesa he demonstrates at the altar is theater.
You are, what, the Edir?
The Edir. It's cowardly. When you scream, he runs away.
That's right, huh?
Yeah, that's all theater. So, I called Brasilia and spoke with the guy who was a federal deputy at the time, who later became president of Congress, Renan Calheiros. Then I spoke with Renan, identified myself, explained the situation. Then he said, he's saying, where are you? Sao Paulo. Can you get here by midnight, before midnight? I say, I think it does. They are so good here, you speak directly to the president. There we went. This Jorge Haddad, Alberto Haddad, Bicho Goncalves and me. And the born beast. But there were no more flights to Brasilia. At that time. Then he left to rent a jet. And you see how Sao Paulo is a terrible thing, it's a monstrosity. There was no jet for rent, everything was busy. Until Mr. Demerval, who was one of the directors of Record, part of the Silvio Santos group, said, I have a friend of mine who has a jet, I'm going to talk to him, see if he can solve my brightness. He spoke and the guy rented the jet. Then we went to Brasilia, Cartagena. We arrived in front of Cartagena, that crowd of reporters. That's where we identify with security. He said to wait that he would communicate inside. Bring the answer, right? Half an hour later, I saw Renan Calero's answer. Only Edir Macedo enters, only Macedo enters. Then, as he is fearful, weak, he said no. Either everyone comes in or nobody comes in, or I go in with him alone or I don't go there. I come back and bring him to talk to him in jail, then the time comes. Everyone can come in. That's where we all come in. Because there was a party. The governors, the mayors who voted for Colo, they were all there. A crowd inside. The garden is beautiful, you know. So full of political. Then we stayed on the porch of the house, waiting, and Claudio Humberto, who was the press officer at the time, who is still a journalist in Brasilia today, kept us company, as the president did not come. And it got on his nerves. He said, look, when I shake hands with him, don't tap him on the shoulder, he hates patting the hand on shoulder. Well, give us the guidelines.
It's okay.
After more or less an hour or so of waiting, here comes the man. Surrounded by politics, he was in front, then he reached the notch, he stopped. Claudio Humberto said, President, this is Bicho Macedo, the people from Bando de Media. Ah yes, boy, such. You took the lot in the campaign, right? You put my shirt in an ass, so it was a bug, the bug was and all. Then the animal said, President, can you have 5 minutes for us? In particular. Then he braked like hell now,